All right, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode on Trimble Forensics Reveal plus Trimble SketchUp, unlocking the power of using the two softwares in conjunction. My name is Chris Lutz. I'm your host for this webinar series. So you're watching us on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, wherever it is, whatever platform you're watching us on. We are live streaming to all of those platforms at the same time. Frequent question that we get on these webinars is, if I miss it or if I have to step out, hey, I can't stay for the whole thing. If I need to step out, is this recorded? And the answer is yes. You can on the platform of your choice. Again, YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, whatever platform you're watching this on. You can go back and watch our previous weeks. And at the end of this broadcast this week, it will be available. Okay, the recording the recording of this week's live stream is available. Just come back to this event and watch it. If you gotta head out, if you get called out to a motorist assist, something like that, by all means, come back, watch the episode again, or if you want to follow along at a later time, you do you. Okay, now that we got that out of the way, let's get into this week's webinar. So this week, we're going to have a little bit of fun. We have fun every week, really. But this one is one of the ones that those of you that know me, I am a nerd from the word go, right? And I like to 3D print. I like taking something, designing something. And, doing digital design is fun, designing these things, modeling these things on a computer. It's fun, it's cool, but it's just not the same as having something tangible in your hands. Those who don't know different learning styles, you have auditory learners, so they learn by listening. Visual learners, they learn by seeing. And kinesthetic learners, like me, is that we learn by touching. We like to put our hands on things. We like to have our fingers touching physical objects. And so that's what we're doing this week, is we're going to take a digital model. Well, not even really a digital model. We are taking LiDAR scan data. So we've scanned a building, scanned a structure, scanned something. And then we are going to model it. And there we are going to put it into a format so that we can 3D print it. And where this comes in handy is being able to give little models of the scenes to our judge, our jury, especially the jury, being able to create a demonstrative exhibit, being able to 3D print a structure, and have them see where people were standing, be able to put things into it, and then come up with a display that people can physically touch. Little plastic models. Now, I like to 3D print. I like taking things and making them physical objects. And so that's really the only physical thing you need is a 3D printer in order to do this. Now, there are services, right, that you can send this out and have things 3D printed and then come back. Although the price for 3D printers has come down to the point that, boy, they are really affordable. I think I bought mine for, what was it? About $350, $375 US dollars. And I get good results from it. Now, a lot of our departments, they could buy a little bit better printer than that for the most part, or usually, right? But it just goes to say that these physical models are not outside the budgetary realm of most departments, or even most hobbyists for that matter. I'm just a hobbyist, and worked a couple odd jobs, came up with the money, and bought one. So what we're going to do this week is we are going to use SketchUp Studio to build a 3D model from LiDAR scan data. So we took a LiDAR laser scan. We used a Trimble X7. We scanned a structure or scanned something, and now we want to turn it into something physical. Right? We want to do something physical with it. So let's get to it here. Now, I mentioned we are going to be using SketchUp Studio. So let me transition over here. Okay, so we are going to be using SketchUp Studio here, and this is going to be SketchUp Studio, Windows only. You can buy the subscription online at $749 a year, definitely affordable. And it allows you to model on point clouds. So you can take LiDAR scans into SketchUp and actually model from a point cloud. And that's what we're going to be doing today, is modeling from a point cloud. And you do need the SketchUp Studio license in order to be able to do that. Now, once we're done with this model, we can actually take it into Reveal. Right, so we do have the Smart Rooms feature in Reveal to build structures in Reveal, but if we're going to build it once, we may as well just reuse that. So when we're done here, we're going to model this scan scene inside of SketchUp. We're going to send it out for 3D printing, and then we're just going to take it right on into Reveal and keep right on trucking with it. So that's what we're going to do. All right. So I am now inside of SketchUp here, and as I rotate around my middle mouse button, we've got looks like an entryway here. We've got an entryway here, a long hallway. Looks like maybe some sort of kitchen, dining room area here. I've got a wall. Got kind of a living area. Okay, I want to be able to model this. I didn't bring in the scan that has the rest of the kitchen in here, apparently. But it looks like that wall ends right about here. So we'll just bring that wall across when we do it. I like this. Okay, let's get cracking on it. So I want to be able to draw these walls. Now, what I want is kind of a limit box here. So I am going to, I'm going to start with a floor. So from my top down here, I'm going to draw kind of a base, I guess you could call it. This will be the base for our 3D print that our scan will sit on. And it also gives a way for me to kind of model things up, or model my walls moving up. So I'm just going to draw a square here, triple click, right click, and I'm going to make this a group. I'm going to hit the M key, M as in Mary. Let's see if I can get that. Apologize, I need to get this started. Okay, now we should be seeing it. I'm going to hit the M key on my keyboard. And it doesn't look like I'm seeing it here. Let me see if I can get that. All right, so I'm going to hit the M key on my keyboard here, and I'm going to move this. I'm going to hit the up arrow to move this straight up and down. Now there is a way to snap to a point cloud. So I'm going to click on this button up here in the top left. I'm going to snap that to my floor. When I look here, yep, that is my floor. Go side on with it. Yep, that's my floor. Okay, that's my group, or at least that's my floor. Now, what I want to do is I want to lock this. So I'm going to right click on it and say lock, and that locks it so that I can't accidentally move it anywhere. I can't do anything with that. It's going to stay put. Okay. Next up, what I want to do here is I want to draw like a clipping box. So this one might be just a little smaller here. I'm going to draw a box and about like that. I'm going to hit P to push pull. I'm going to bring that up. The size isn't all that critical. So I'm just going to triple click on this, make this one a group. And in my Scan Essentials box here, my Scan Essentials toolbar, up here in my settings, there is the ability for me to up here. Well, I guess there's a clipping box. So those are our clipping boxes. We can access that from the Scan Essentials toolbar up here up top. So I am going to create a clipping box from current SketchUp selection. Actually, I take that back. Before I do this, come down here to the bottom. I'm going to push pull this just a little bit lower because I want whatever's below it. I want to make sure that my floor is included. All right, so I'm going to select it, and now I'm going to create a clipping box from my SketchUp selection. Now, I need to scale this. So I'm going to hit S, and I'm going to... I take that back, Control Z, and I'm going to hide that. Now, over here on my right side, I am going to come in here to my tags, and there is a point cloud manipulator. And if I click on this, this is my point cloud clipping box. I'm going to hit S to scale it. Next, I'm just going to slice off my ceiling. And there's a filter we can use here as well. If we did want to use a filter, we certainly could. I just like using these clipping boxes because I can dynamically decide what it's going to be. Looks good to me. Make a couple small adjustments in here. I don't want that to snap to anything. There we go. I just want it so the ceiling goes away and I can get a good cross section of my walls. All right, that is mint right there. That is just mint. Okay. So now that I've done that, I can just hide my clipping box. Looks good. I'm going to go to a top-down view. I'm going to go to my camera, standard views, or I'm sorry, I'm going to change this to a parallel projection so that I can look at this from the top down, get a good idea of where these walls are. And I like this. Okay, something else I need to do is I need to reorient this because it looks like if I draw a line here, so if I start from say right here and I go out on my red axis, it doesn't quite line up with my walls. I need this to be, I need my axes to line up with my walls here. So what I'm going to do is go into, well, let me see if I can find where that's at here. There we go. So I'm going to redefine the axis for this so that it lines up. So this looks like a, well, we want to use a nice long straight wall for this. So I'm going to maybe use this wall right here. So I'll come in and click here. It's going to ask me to define my red axis or my X axis. Come down here to the end and click on there. That'll be my X. And next we want our Y. I take it back. I should have done this just a little bit differently. So I want this to be where there's a good right angle. So there appears to be one right here and here. So let's define those axes again. I'm going to reorient this so that I'll go on right here. This will be my X. This will be my Y. And then my Z is automatically oriented. So now when I draw straight lines, I'm actually drawing them on the axis, on the straight axis of this. And that's going to make life a heck of a lot easier. Okay, let's get to this. So I want to draw these walls. So I'm going to start maybe right about here. I'll draw this out. I'm going to constrain this so that it follows the red axis so that I know everything is perfectly straight. So I'll go maybe to right about here. Next I'll go on the Y axis up to about here. I'll come over on the red axis to here. Next, I'm just going to draw all the way up here. I'm not going to go too far. All right, that looks good. So next I'll come up right about here. And if I need to make any adjustments to this line, I certainly can, but I'm not going for ultra accurate. I'm going for, can I just get this model done here in a short period of time? Here in a little bit, we'll actually make changes to this so that it lines where we want it to be. Okay, so now we have a line here. You know what? Instead of that, I'm just going to use a rectangle tool. There to there. That works, and I'll just snap that Actually, I don't want to do that. I want to come down to about here. Yeah, I'll come down to about here. I'll pump the brakes on that one just a little bit. All right, and you can kind of see here, I'm just tracing the walls out on the base plate, or the floor, I guess. So we also go to right here. Actually, Control Z there because I was not aligned to the red axis. Over here, I'll make sure that I am aligned to red. Looks good there. We'll come all the way across. And using my arrow keys to make sure I'm aligning things at 90 degrees. I've had before where I don't align things to 90 degrees and it becomes a really, really bad day for everybody involved when things aren't aligned. Okay. Now this is the end of the wall here. However, it does go all the way down. So I'm just going to trace that out. I'm just going to go to this point right here. Again, I'm not going all the way down the hall. Just, I don't really feel like it today. Again, I'll make changes to these as we go. I got off just a little bit, so I'll just continue drawing this way. So on inference here, bring that wall all the way up. Okay, from here, I can begin push-pulling my walls if need be. So this wall looks good. I'm just going to hit P, and I'm going to push-pull that up. And when I get up here, it looks like it's about 7 foot 8 inches. On the distance on my tape, so I'm going to go 7 feet 8 inches, enter, and that then made that wall 7 feet 8 inches. Looking good. All right, let's bump this over here. So I'm going to go over, 4.5 inches. It's a midpoint, that's my end. I'll come up. Over. Now there's a couple ways you can do this. One is that you can push-pull the walls up, or you can push-pull the walls this way. It's entirely up to you, whichever you feel. I'm going to go 4.5 inches beyond this. Again, making the walls 4.5 inches, and I'll just make a line. I'll just come down here, use that, come up, push, pull. Push, pull to there, and then I might go, another 4.5 beyond that. Close that one out, and come up here. I'll come up to that edge. Looking good. One thing I love is that SketchUp will remember your last measurement choice, so that 4.5 inches there. It'll remember it so that sometimes you don't. If you're drawing a line, it'll automatically snap the line for you. Push, pull. Drag this over. This is the way I like to draw my walls. Now, your mileage may differ here, or your mileage may vary. I like doing it this way. It just makes sense for me. But again, you do you. About 4.5 inches there. Draw my line. come up to that one. That looks good. Now, for my camera, I can also change this over to perspective view here. So it might make a little more sense geometrically for those of you on the call here. Yeah, it's looking good. All right, I'm going to go from maybe about here to here because I want this to line up, and I'll come up on that edge, hit P to push pull, and I'll just bring it right on over. Let's go right on over to that face, that edge. Looks good. Now there it just snapped over, so I got 4.5 inches. And I just love being able to draw these in 3D as I go because it just makes sense for me. I'll start from my endpoint there. Just pull it here. Now, something you could always do too is you could just trace everything and then bring it up. So you just draw your outline offset by 4.5 inches and pull it up. Again, entirely up to you how you want to do this. There is no right or wrong way. And sometimes one way might work just a little bit better than another. Let me extend that up to here. Now you could continue on down the hallway. I'm not, just because I don't really feel like it. All right, we have another wall here. I'll just go maybe in 4.5 inches there and come up. And I need to make it come up from there. I'll make sure I'm on my edge. Push, pull, and bring that out. Actually, I don't want to use that. I want to use that endpoint, and I want to come up to that. There we go. Pull it to there. Let's go an additional 4.5 beyond. Make a line in my corner. Hit push pull. Bring it up to that face. All right, I'm happy if you're happy. Beautiful. Okay, now we also have looks like a short, like a supporting wall or something like that here. So I'm going to start maybe from, and since I use that, I can go here. So I'll go 4.5 inches. Next, I want to go over on my red axis, but I only want to go to here. Now, one of the things is our snapping. So right now I want to snap to the point cloud, and I want to snap to, because I'm drawing on my red axis here, I want to snap to that point. So snap. Next, I'll change my snaps back on to my SketchUp objects. Yeah, I did something wrong there. There we go. So I'll stay on my green axis, and I want to come over to here and back. Next, I want to push pull, and I want to bring this thing up. I want to inference my other objects here. So I want to go to that endpoint. Looks good. Now it also looks like we've got a small, I guess, supporting beam or some kind of supporting structure here in my point cloud. So I want to grab a rectangle and I want to do it on this face. And I want to go down to about there. Hit push pull. Send it on across until it hits right there. Oop. I'm going to leave that in place. Okay. I like that. There's a few things we can do here, such as this wall. Push pull that to make sure it sits where I want it to sit. There we go. And that way I can include that geometry in it. So that's all one solid object. Now, if I turn my point cloud off, I now have a pretty good outline of my model. And I could turn it on to, my transparency on 50%, 75%, or there's another mode here called conditional blending. And what it does is it takes, if there's a SketchUp geometry that's close, it dims it. But if there's SketchUp geometry that's a long distance away, it displays the point cloud in full brightness, which I kind of like that. That gives me a really good indication of how close I am. Say this wall right here, if I hit P, I bring it out here. Of course, we're covering our SketchUp geometry. Yeah, this allows me to then see what did I cover and what did I not. If something is really bright, aka right here, obviously I haven't modeled it. I'm not very close to it. I find that just to be really, really helpful for me in figuring out what have I modeled and what have I not. Okay, let's get in here and make some holes. So we have windows, we have some portals, that kind of thing. So I've got my this area right here. So I'm going to grab a rectangle. It's going to be on this face. So I'm going to hit the Shift key while it's here, and that'll make sure it stays on the face. And I'm going to change this a little bit so that I'm doing a cloud pick. I'm sorry, I'm going to do a point cloud or a SketchUp geometry click here. So I'm going to say it's on the face right about here. I'm just going to draw one of these. I'm going to hit P for push pull. I'm going to push that all the way through so that now I have a hole. Now, if I missed, if my geometry isn't quite right, if I'm a little shallow, if I need to make some changes here, I certainly can. I'm going to make a change here. I'm going to push this back just a hair. That's a little closer on the alignment of that wall. Thickness of the wall looks good. I'm also going to make a change here. I'll hit P to then bring that up so that it fits that windowsill just a little bit better. That one looks pretty darn good. Let's see how we did on the top. Yeah, top I missed just a little bit. So I'll just come in here with the old push-pull tool. P for push-pull, and I'll make just a small adjustment. So that now we're all but spot on with my point cloud. All right, we have some other portals here, like doors. So I'm going to cut some doors. So I want it to be on this face. I'm going to hit my Shift key. So I'm making sure and I'm snapping to that face when I do it. I'm going to start here. And you could use standard dimensions for things like this. I don't typically get too caught up in the height of the doors and that kind of thing. If I need to make an adjustment, I sure can. But I'm not designing a new build here. I'm replicating what is actually there. Get zoomed out. There we go. looks good. Got my doorways there. I could always go through and I could put in, actual doors if I wanted, but that's not keeping with our model here, or at least keeping with the idea of it. Now, here in a little bit, or in later episodes, we'll do more doors and actual 2D, creating 2D diagrams and that kind of thing. The purpose of this episode is the creation of a 3D print. So I'm more doing this from a 3D printing. I know where we're going, which is 3D printing. That's what I'm trying to replicate here, what I'm trying to work with. All right, we'll do another one here. That's snapping to the midpoint. I don't want to do that. There we go. Oh, I'm just going to start here, bottom left. There we go. It's wanting to snap, and I don't want it to snap there. There we go. So I'll just push-pull that. If that door was open, I could push-pull it. And again, you can bring in doors from the 3D warehouse that are open. For this one, I just want to show how this looks with a 3D print with some doors and that kind of thing that are open, or at least open doorways. There we go. Got that more or less modeled. We do have a front entryway here. I'll leave that one alone. Got some windows here. I guess I could model those, but yeah, is what it is. Okay, because we've got enough portals. If I turn that off, we've got enough portals in this thing to really show where doorways are and that kind of thing. So we'll turn this back on 75%. Okay, looks like there's like a dining room table and some chairs. We have, looks like maybe a kitchen counter or something like that. But before I go too far in putting furniture in here, what I want to do is triple click to select all of these walls, and I want to right click, make it a group. And on top of that, I'm going to make this a component, and I'll show you why. So I'm going to right click, make component. I'm going to call this walls. Now, as you go a little bit longer in modeling 3D structures, creating interior walls and exterior walls, kind of a good thing. But for me, this will just be called walls, and I'll create it. Now, over in my tags area, or I'm sorry, in my entity info, right now I have this thing selected, and in my tag, I want to change this. So this component, I want to give this a, let's see here, I want to create a new tag, and I want to call this walls. And now with my walls selected, I'm going to change it so that now this is tagged walls. So now I've kind of created a little bit of a layer manager over here. So now I can turn walls on and off based upon what I need to see. Okay, let's go grab a... Go get a dining room table. If this was a... You know what? This looks pretty darn good. Here's a table for a dining room. That's going to be close enough. Table and 4 chairs. It's good enough for this model that I am building. I will just put this in here, and I will rotate it. So the chairs are facing that way, and I'll just move it over so that when I turn the point cloud off, I've now got a, well, what do you know, table and chairs in there. And going back to last week's episode, we could, if this scan was a little more dense, we could go in and customize it, but it kind of gives me what I need. Okay, now let's do a island. So I'll just draw this. Just gonna make it that size, and I'm gonna select this, select M, I'm going to move it on the green axis. I want to snap to a point cloud, and I want to snap it to right there. Looks good. I want to move that on the red axis so that it snaps to my point cloud there. Making sure that it fits, looks good. I will hit P to push pull it. I'll push pull up to right about there so that it's the correct height. Looks like it comes out a little bit. I'm going to say on that face, I want it to be, oh, I don't know, that looks about right. Push pull that out. Now if I want to, I can just slice this off. Looks good there. I'll do the same thing here. Inference. That looks like it slices just a little bit different over here, so I'm going to make a change to that. Let's go from here to right about there, push pull. There, and now that is nice and sliced. Now I think odds are this laser scan is what chopped us off there, but I'm just going to leave it. So I will triple click, make that a group. And that way when I turn my point cloud off, I now have my island. Okay, so now I've got an island, I've got a table and chairs, and you can just go through and add this stuff in. We're getting a little long on time, but this kind of gives you an idea of how to model this stuff from a laser scan. Now, this is going to be our base plate. This kind of gives me an idea of my rough size, but this and this and this are the objects that I want to 3D print. Now, before you go 3D printing stuff, realize that you are not going to get this kind of detail unless you're really working with a really nice 3D printer that is very, very large. So your furniture may or may not be things that you want to include, and realize that little things like overhangs and that kind of thing may not come out quite the way that you think they will. Same thing here with this overhang on this kitchen counter. This might be something that you would be better off 3D printing on its own and then possibly gluing it down, but I'm going to do it anyway. Okay, with our box down here, and this kind of gives me a little raft for this to go onto, I'm going to unlock this and edit this. I'm going to move this in. Just so it isn't quite so large that it's really messing with me here. Okay, I now have everything here. This is now my my 3D model. I'm going to right-click it and make that a group. And I will make this one a component, and I'll call this life size. And this is my life size model, or my life size group, or my life size component, I guess. I'm going to Control C, Control V. And that will allow me to paste a copy of it. Oh, yeah, Control V. I don't know what I was smoking there. Okay. Now, with this, we need to resize this. There aren't many 3D printers that are life size that we can take this and we can take this thing and print it out actual size of 43 feet. No, we need to scale this. So I hit S to scale. I'll click here to begin scaling. And for my scale, I'm going to maybe call this it goes from 0 to 1. Scale of 1 is 1, or I'm sorry, scale 1 is 100%. 0.5 is 50%. I want to make this a 0.1, so maybe a 1%. And we'll see our approximate size. I'm sorry, this was 10%. Sorry, I'm not very good at math today. So my approximate size is 4 feet. That's still a little bit too large. So I want to scale this down. Instead of, I'll do a 0.02. So 2% of original. It's now scaled everything. It's about 10 and 9/16 of an inch. So if you've got a printer that can print something maybe 11 inches or 12 inches square, this would work. So this is a 2% scaled model. So 2 inches is equal to 100 inches in real life. Now, if you want to do 1 inch, you know what, we'll just do that. So I'll undo my scale. I'll scale this 0.01. This will be 1%. Now with this, 1 inch is equal to 10 inches. Or, I'm sorry, 1 inch is equal to 100 inches in scale, which I think is pretty cool. So now I want to export a 3D model. And for this one, I want this one to be, I'm going to put it on my desktop here. And I will just call this, I don't know, 3D print.stl. Now, one of the things here, we want to go into our options. And in my export options, I only want to export my current selection. It's going to be binary, and depending on your 3D printer slicing program, you may need to change this up just a little bit if need be. But I am going to, I'm just going to use this as, actually, I'm going to make this so that Y is up. My STL units are millimeters. Again, keep track of what your slicer wants. Okay, and I'll just dump this on my desktop and hit export. Now this will export it as an STL or stereolithography document. Next, what I will do, I'm going to go to my slicing program here. And for example here, I am using Ultimaker's Ultimaker Cura for the slicing program. Your slicing program may vary. You do you. So this is not a tutorial necessarily in 3D printing, but how to get it into your slicing program. From there, you're kind of on your own to use your slicer as you see fit. There's a ton of good slicers out there. This is just one that I'm using as an example here. So I'm going to go to File, Open Files, and I'm just going to go to my desktop and my 3D print.stl. And it now fits inside of the bounds of my 3D printer. Now, this one here, I do have a base plate, but this base plate doesn't have any thickness to it. So one of the things I need to do is just a little on how to keep this as one solid object. There's going to be a base plate adhesion. I'm going to use a raft, and what that will do is set this basically up on a little raft so that it'll stick. So I slice. So it looks like using a 0.6 millimeter nozzle, I could slice this, or I could print this in 2 hours and 50 minutes. Now looking at it, it looks like most of my walls would have 2 layers. Now with that, it's not going to be able, because these chairs are such fine, intricate objects, it's not going to be able to print the backs. The backs are actually smaller than what the nozzle is. And on this 3D print, it looks like we are going to have, we're going to have supports. So the 3D printer will be able to print the doorways, and then it'll fill it so that the top of the doorway is actually straight, and then you break it off after the fact. Yeah, using, I should see what my settings are here. Yeah, so this is a raft. Come back up my layer height. Where's my line width? Yeah, it's 0.06. I'm going to use 0.2. So 0.2 of a millimeter for my height. I'm going to do 0.4. Be a little, maybe a little. I'm going to use the same height as my line width here. So this would be a much higher quality print. Slicing this is going to take a lot longer. Let's see if maybe I can get some of those details in the chairs. Not likely, but we'll give it a shot. And again, this is going to be printed in a scale of 1 inch is equal to 100 inches. So we are actually printing this to scale. So those of you that do a not to scale on your diagrams, well, you could actually 3D print to scale, which I find pretty cool. That we can take a laser scanned or a LiDAR scanned object and we can create a physical evidentiary model to scale. Because I think that's really cool. Okay, slicing this at 0.2 millimeters, which is very, very tiny. Yeah, this is going to take 2 days and 13 hours. I would not use this, to be honest with you. This is much too fine for this, for what this is. But this one could take a while. There's that print. Okay, there's something else I want to show you guys back in SketchUp here. So that is I'm going to create a tag here. I'm going to create a tag here called 3D print. And I'm going to take this entity. I'm going to tag it as 3D print. I like it. Okay, now there is a little bit of a problem in that. Nope, I take it back. It is not a problem. Okay, so we have our life-size model here, and I'm going to turn on this. Actually, I'm going to turn on this point cloud at full brightness. There is a cloud viewing mode. If I want to go to the point cloud manager here, there is I'm sorry, it's not there. It is. Where is that? Where are we here? Move and rotate. I apologize. I haven't done this one in a while. Got our color-coded elevation. We have our main cloud. We have our stations. Okay, there's a button here called inspection, and you can set how close you want this to be. So if I need this to be modeled within, I don't know, 2 centimeters. So my walls must be within 2 centimeters, or if I need it to be within 1 centimeter or 10 millimeters, or 1/8 of an inch, or whatever you want it to be, you can set your distance and click on inspection map. And what that will do is that will generate a map for you showing areas that are maybe not quite as close as you would like. So on this wall, let's see here, this wall right here, most of this wall is outside of my centimeter tolerance. So what I'm going to do is push-pull this so that I start getting more green to it. There we go. And now most of that wall, or at least a significant amount of that wall, is now within 1 centimeter of the laser scan. So you can go through and you can change these walls and push-pull them to where they need to be. Now keep in mind, 1 centimeter is a pretty tight tolerance here, and some of your construction may not necessarily comply with that. Especially if you have a house like this one where maybe some walls are obviously not exactly the straightest or the most vertical. Now we're dealing in a perfect CAD environment where everything is perfectly perpendicular. In some cases on these models, well, it may not be exact, but you can get an idea of roughly how close it is. Now this wall doesn't have anything because, well, there wasn't anything here. But up here, we can see how close we are. That looks good. Generally, we're within 1 centimeter, and we're generally within 1 centimeter here. Which I find that to be really cool, that you can then get feedback on how close your model is. And if you've got walls that are all red, You can get in here and determine, well, is it a picture frame? In this case, we've got a picture frame that's causing it to be out of tolerance, or 1 centimeter tolerance in that area. I find that to be pretty cool. Okay, so I'm going to turn my inspection off here. So I'm going to change my, that was actually where I needed to be. I'll just change my colorization back. There we go. And now I'm back in true color. All right, and again, as we go, you could continue filling this in with furniture, doors, all that kind of stuff. Man, we just really began scratching the surface on what we're capable of here. But we took a LiDAR scan, so 3D LiDAR scan using a terrestrial laser scanner. And you could use anything, really. Any kind of point cloud, any kind of model. Heck, you could bring hand measurements in here if you measured it with a tape measure or a laser rangefinder. You can come in here, type those in, and knock out a model, send it out as an STL to your favorite 3D printing software, and you're up and going. You now have a physical model. This is one that I printed here a while back for a different project. Here we go, using this method. So I took a terrestrial laser scan, and all I did there is I traced on my walls, put in a small raft for a base plate on my 3D printing program, hit print. I printed this one nozzle, I think it was a 0.2 millimeter nozzle, so 0.2 millimeter nozzle, teeny tiny nozzle, teeny tiny layer height. I knocked this one finished printing. I think this one was about 18 hours on really pretty darn high quality settings. But yeah, now I've got a 3D model that then jurors can go touch. They can take it back with them in the jury room. They could get a little action figure that was this small. We can, move it around in there, play what ifs about where was this person standing, that kind of thing. So anyway, hopefully that's helpful for you all. I find this really cool to be able to take a physical object, digitize it using a terrestrial laser scan or any kind of laser scan, digitize it, model it, and then put it back into a physical model. I think that's so cool, being able to do that. So that's the process. Bring it in with SketchUp Scan Essentials, and off you run. Now, these scans that I brought in were done with Trimble Forensics Capture, along with Trimble Perspective and a Trimble X9. So, those of you that have these tools with SketchUp's SketchUp Studio. Now, SketchUp Studio also includes the Scan Essentials plugin. If you have SketchUp Studio, you have everything you need to be able to do this. And all I did there was I extracted the scan data from my capture file, and I imported the TZFs using Scan Essentials, imported that into SketchUp, and started modeling. Now, what we can do here, I'm going to transition back over, and I am going to take my little tiny model, and I'm just going to hit delete, and I'm going to take my base plate. You know what? I want to keep my base I'm just going to keep my base in here. And so for this, I am going to file save as, and I'm going to put this on my desktop as well. This will be I'm just going to call this 3D printed structure.skp. And then I will have to start reveal. I forgot to do this. I forgot to open up reveal, and you'll see it starting here. I forgot to open up reveal. Normally I have this open and ready for you guys when we start. Wasn't paying attention today. It's been one of those days. So let me get this moved around here. There we go. And I will just go back to reveal in the bottom right. There we go. Okay, so I saved this model as an SKP. So I'm going to go draw models. And this is going to be a SketchUp model from a file on disk. I'm going to go browse for it. And I'm just going to go up to my desktop. And on my desktop, I've got my 3D printed structure.skp. Hit next. Yeah, the name is 3D printed structure. That sounds like a winner to me. Oh, excuse me. Downside of getting old is everything gets just a little loose and things kind of pop when you move them. All right, we'll get this 3D printed structure imported here into Reveal. So we don't have to replicate our work here. Let's do side 5. This is a little difficult, so I'll just do maybe side 3. I think that's it. If not, we'll find out. Import as custom models. Oh, okay. So this is not going to import because I don't have, or my remember that slicing box, or that box we used to slice it off. Well, that came with it. Oops. Oopsie daisy. Okay. Let's go back here. Finish. Let's go back to SketchUp. All right. So I've got this box here. That is my clipping box. I'm just going to delete my clipping box. That'll bring my point cloud in here. I don't really care because I don't need a point cloud. All I'm after is my model here. So let's do that. So I'll just hit Control S to save it again. There we go. Oopsie daisy. All right, back into Reveal. Let's re-import this thing. It's going to be a file. Just going to browse it. Go to my desktop here. My 3D printed structure. Let's call it 3D printed structure 2, because, well, why not give it a 2? 2 makes perfect sense when you think about it. Oh, Chris. All right, and right now Reveal is parsing it out so that we can we'll read the model, convert it over to a structure that we need, and then we'll have it available for us. I think I may have just done the same thing again. Yep, and it's doing it again. Okay, let's go back into SketchUp here. I'm going to delete that tag. I'm going to unload the current point cloud, and I'm going to do what I should have done. View hidden objects and view hidden geometry, and yep, there's my box. So that original box that I drew and hid, yep, it's right there. So I didn't need to unload my point cloud, didn't need to remove my clipping box. I just needed to delete that object. All right. Save as. Again, any hidden objects will get imported into Reveal. One would think after doing enough of these webinars here, I would have remembered that to view the hidden objects, but nope. I'm a little short on coffee today, which is probably my problem. Need a little bit more caffeine. All right, 3D printed structure 3. Because, well, why not? I mean, if we can get 1 and we can get 2, we may as well do 3 of them, right? All right, we'll get this imported here, and then we should be good to go. Again, violated my own rule. My own rule is always turn on the show hidden geometry and show hidden objects. Violated my own rule. There we go. That's looking like more what I want. So on the front, I'll do, I don't know, side 4 maybe. In the top. Looks like I got my table and chairs there, I think. Yeah, there we go. Next, and finish. And boy, I'm just right up against time. So it started you guys just a little bit late here, about 3 minutes late. We got in. I hit the go live right at top of the hour instead of 3 minutes before, like I usually do, to give you a 3-minute lead in. So I owe you guys 3 more minutes. I'm gonna hit finish, and then as I scroll down here, there's my 3D printed structure 3. I drop that in. Now when I go into my 3D view, I now have my 3D printed structure. Now, if I had taken time to put colors on this and that kind of thing, it would have looked a little bit better. So texture my wood floor, texture some carpet in here. I think the original maybe had tile on these two. Yeah, would have made just a little bit more sense if I'd have structured it, but just goes to show you, you don't have to replicate this in Reveal. You don't have to come into Reveal and then model it all over again. We could take our SketchUp model that we're going to 3D print anyway, and then just bring this into Reveal, and now we've got our room in Reveal. And then if I needed to draw more models, which I kind of find this to work really well, so if I need to put an avatar in here, I most certainly can. Let's put my avatar there. And then we had an avatar there, and then maybe we had a male sitting here. In here and get our avatar selected. Here we go. So I'll just move him up. I'll rotate him around. Pick him up just a little bit more here. And slide him back. And maybe move this arm up just a touch. I had one hand on the table. There we go. So you can then begin positioning models. If you wanted to in Reveal, put in furniture, continue building this thing out. You could load your point cloud into Reveal and import your capture file. Start working in Reveal, and then just move your model to line up where your point cloud goes. Continue on working. Nothing says that you have to stay in any one program. Feel free to move between them as needed to get what you need. Okay, that was and we're spot on with time. That was that was the episode on 3D or generating 3D printed structures. So recap in 1 hour. We did our intro. Did a point cloud import into SketchUp. We did the modeling of this house with all the rooms and doorways. We threw in some furniture, a kitchen counter that had some beveled edges, and then from there we scaled it at 1 inch is equal to 100 inches, or 1 to 100 scale. And then we took it into a 3D printing program. We sliced it, and if we had a printer here ready to go, I could have hit print. And look like on that one, if I was doing a 0.6 millimeter nozzle, that one would be a little bit coarse with that. Probably a 0.4 would have been right. But we could start the 3D printed model, and roughly 24 hours later, we would have a 3D printed model of the structure. And then we took that model into Reveal, and we've got a model to continue on with the what ifs, right? The positioning of avatars, adding furniture in Reveal. And then from there, we could take this into Showcase if we wanted to. Right on into Showcase, and then we've got our deliverable there. So, and all of that in 1 hour, which I find to be really cool that we can get that much down in this short of time. Okay, if you have any questions, comments, complaints, concerns, please put them in the comment section of the platform you're using, whether it's YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook. Put them in there, and we get those and we read those, and we definitely try to incorporate those things as we go. So thank you very much, and I look forward to seeing you guys next week. Be sure to check out the blog and get next week's schedule. Can't remember what next week is, but we'll be posting that link here shortly. So thank you very much, and I will see you all again next week.